All right, welcome to your deep dive. For today, we're going to be taking a look at this devotional text that you sent us, and it's all about finding strength and renewal and all that through Christian evangelical faith.
Absolutely. And this is this is your deep dive. So we've really zeroed in on the stuff you sent us.
Yeah, so get ready.
Yeah.
So, full disclosure, though, right off the bat, this deep dive is coming at this from a pretty specific angle.
Right before we even get started, I think it's important to mention that this is, we're looking at Christian evangelical principles here.
Yeah.
They're not going to be for everybody.
Yeah, it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing.
Right.
But it's definitely a really powerful framework for what we're about to unpack.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm just going to dive right in here. One thing that really jumped out at me in this text was this whole arise thing. It's like everywhere, right? Like it's not just arise, it's arise. What do you think the author's going for with that?
Well, I mean, it's a call to action. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
But to really get it,
Mm.
I think we have to go back to the source, where this is coming from. And he's drawing a parallel to the story of Jesus healing that guy who was paralyzed for, 38 years?
Mm.
That's in John chapter 5.
Oh, yeah, the man at the pool of Bethesda.
That's the one.
Yeah, I mean, it's a powerful story.
Oh, yeah.
And the author's not just like dropping the story in there, right? He's got a point.
No, he's making a point.
Yeah.
He's saying just like Jesus was able to heal that guy's physical paralysis, you can experience healing from, whatever's got you feeling stuck or powerless in your own life. Could be family troubles, could be finances, or even just like feeling stuck in your faith. The devotional is saying you can break free from all that.
So like anything holding you back is kind of like paralysis. But what's interesting to me is that the text is really pushing this idea that faith is like the key to the whole thing.
Yeah.
Not just willpower or positive thinking, right?
Way more than that, yeah.
Yeah.
It goes deeper.
Mm.
The author's saying that it's your faith that unlocks God's power, and that's what lets you break through.
Mm.
He uses some pretty strong language to get that point across.
Oh, yeah.
Like igniting the fire of faith or breaking free from the chains of paralysis, like that.
He's definitely not subtle.
No.
But I can see how that would really speak to somebody who's feeling lost or defeated. It's like it's giving them hope,
It is, yeah. And then it goes even further and gives you specific key prayers that are supposed to help you build that kind of faith that we're talking about.
Yeah.
They're all about gratitude, fresh starts, and leaving the past behind.
Yeah, and there's that whole image of transforming from a mentality of a grasshopper to a mentality of a giant slayer. What do you think that's about? It seems like it's about shifting your perspective or something.
Oh, absolutely. The author wants you to see how much potential you have, that you can beat any challenge, no matter how big. He's talking about finding that inner strength and realizing that your limits don't define you.
That makes you wonder, though, is it really that easy?
Yeah. I mean, some things are just hard, It's not always just about thinking differently.
Right, it's not a magic bullet.
Right.
And the author knows that. He's not saying that faith just makes all your problems disappear. What he is saying is that it gives you this foundation to face those problems with a new attitude, with more resilience.
Right. So we've got this big arise thing going on, and this idea that faith makes healing happen, and this call to get yourself into a stronger mindset. But then there's this whole other layer where he compares Jesus healing the paralyzed guy to the apostles healing that other guy in Acts.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's when things get really interesting, right? It makes you think.
Yeah, it's subtle, but by showing those two different approaches, he's asking us to think about what we believe about how God's power actually works,
Yeah, so like in one story, Jesus just speaks and the guy is healed, just like that. But then in the other story, Peter and John actually physically help the guy up.
Right.
What do you think that means? Well, what he seems to be saying is that it's not really the physical action that's the most important thing. It's more about obeying your faith. It's like he's saying that real healing comes when you line up with God's will and you trust that his power will work through you.
So it's not just believing, it's about doing something, taking action, and being obedient.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
It is. And this whole faith versus works thing is a big topic in Christian theology. People have been debating this for centuries, and this devotional just adds another layer to it.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely complicated. But it makes you want to know more about what the author thinks about it all. I mean, who is this Pastor Ghislaine, anyway?
Well, they call him Pastor G, and he's the pastor at Legalese and Mission in Austin, Minnesota. He's a husband, a father, a writer, and even an interpreter.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
And he's training to be a nurse, too.
That's right.
That's really interesting.
It is. And when you think about his background and all the passion in his writing, It's clear that he's not just into the ideas, you know. He wants to use those ideas to make a difference in the real world, to help people actually change and heal.
Right. So it's not just theory. It's about actually living it out.
Yeah, exactly. And that fits perfectly with how the devotional is all about taking action, about arising and moving forward with your faith.
That makes sense. So, okay, we've got this powerful arise theme and this focus on faith being what gets you healed and this whole thing about stepping into a stronger mindset. But then there's this 2025 uppercut arise. What do you think he means by that?
Hmm. Yeah, that one's kind of a mystery, right?
Yeah, the first time I read that, I was like, what? Like,
Yeah.
is that some kind of code?
I think he's doing that on purpose.
Yeah.
He's challenging every reader to figure out what it means for them, you know, to think about it in the context of their own life and their own goals.
So it's not just about what the text says. It's about what it means for you.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe that's the most powerful part of it all.
Yeah.
It's not giving you all the answers.
Yeah.
It's giving you the tools, the stories, the principles, the prayers, so you can go on your own journey of spiritual discovery and change.
Right. So it's about getting you curious and wanting to dig deeper and find your own meaning.
Yeah.
You're not just reading it passively. You're really thinking about it and letting it change you.
That's right.
And that's what makes a deep dive like this so great, you know? It's not about being told what to think. It's about having a good conversation that can open up new ways of seeing things.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So as we wrap up this first part of our deep dive, I want to ask you, the listener, what really stands out to you so far? What are you connecting with? What's making you think?
Yeah. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it really makes you think about how this whole arise thing is happening in your own life.
Yeah.
You know, is there something that's got you feeling stuck, maybe even a little paralyzed?
It's a good question. And it makes me think about that image of the uppercut, you know?
Yeah.
It's like powerful, right?
Yeah.
Fighting back against whatever's holding you down. So what about you? What comes to mind when you hear 2025 uppercut arise?
Well, for me, the 2025 part was kind of confusing at first.
Yeah.
You know, it seems so specific, like it was some kind of deadline.
Yeah.
But now that I've thought about it more, I think it's more about being intentional.
Okay.
Like it's saying, I'm serious about this. This is going to happen.
I like that. It's not just about what happens in 2025. It's about what you're doing now to arise and get there.
Right, exactly.
But what about people who feel like they've already tried to arise, but they just keep hitting walls? What does this devotional have to say to them?
Well, that's where faith comes in.
Yeah.
The devotional reminds us that even when we face setbacks, even when we want to give up, there's something bigger than us that we can draw strength from.
Right. So it's like it's saying, don't give up on that uppercut. You might not get it right the first time, but you have the power to break free.
Exactly. And remember, the devotional gives us those key prayers to help us build that inner strength and resilience.
Yeah.
It's not just about saying the words. It's about connecting with a power that can help us through hard times.
Yeah. And speaking of hard times, you were talking about the author's background earlier and how he's done so many different things. Do you think those experiences shaped what he wrote in the devotional?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Especially his experience as a nurse.
Oh, yeah.
You can really feel the compassion in his writing.
Yeah.
He wants to help people heal and reach their full potential.
So it's not just about the ideas. It's about what those ideas can do for people in the real world.
Right. And being an interpreter means he's good at connecting with people from different backgrounds, of explaining complicated things in a way that makes sense.
I think you can see that in how he uses Bible stories and his own personal stories and gives practical advice all at the same time.
Yeah, it's like he's weaving it all together, right?
Yeah.
The wisdom of the Bible, his own life experiences, and this call to action for the reader to find their own place in it all. Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not preachy at all.
Right.
It's more like a conversation, like he's inviting you to explore these ideas with him.
And that's what's so great about a deep dive like this, right?
Yeah.
It's not about being told what to think. It's about having a conversation that opens up new perspectives and insights.
Exactly. So as we move into the last part of our deep dive, I want to hear from you, the listener. What's your biggest takeaway? What surprised you? What are you still thinking about?
It's been really great diving into this devotional with you and kind of peeling back all the layers. It's really got me thinking. What about you? Has anything really stuck with you?
I think it makes you really think about where you might be holding yourself back.
Yeah.
You know, like what are those parts of your life where you've been settling for that grasshopper mentality?
Right. Like maybe there's a dream you've been putting off or a relationship that needs fixing. Or even just a bad habit that's got you stuck in a rut. This devotional is like a challenge to face all that head on.
Yeah. And to do it with that uppercut energy. You know, not aggressively, but with that strong, decisive action that comes from faith, and believing in yourself.
You know what's interesting to me is that this isn't just about changing yourself, it's about making a difference in the world. Remember how the devotional talked about Jesus and the apostles healing people?
Oh, that's a great point. It's not just about you arising. It's about how your transformation can go out and change other people's lives too.
Right, it's like a ripple effect. When you step into your full potential and break free from those limitations, it creates a positive impact that goes way beyond just you.
And that's where the 2025 part of the message really hits home for me. It's like a reminder that you're not in this alone.
Yeah.
You're part of something bigger, a collective arising that can actually change the future.
So it's not just a call to action, it's a call to hope. Like if we all embrace this uppercut mentality and commit to rising up and using our gifts to the fullest, we can create a better world together. A world that's more just and compassionate and fulfilling.
That's a beautiful thought, isn't it? And it's something we can all contribute to in our own way.
This has been a really inspiring deep dive. Thanks for listening and for taking this journey with us. And a big thanks to you for sharing this devotional text with us. It obviously means a lot to you.
And if you're feeling inspired to explore more, we have a whole bunch of deep dives waiting for you. We've got everything from ancient philosophy to modern self-help.
And if you have a text you'd like to unpack, we'd love to hear from you. Just send it to our website, and we might just feature it in a future deep dive.
Until next time, keep searching, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.